One of the things that we invested in 6 or 9 months ago was text message based subscription management. So you'd think, okay, your cancels are going to go through the roof. What it actually did for us is it didn't increase cancels, but it decreased CX inbound. So it actually decreased our costs on the customer service, customer experience side of things, because customers could then choose their own adventure. And philosophically, the customer who has a great experience doesn't have to email support, all of that back and forth. They're probably more likely to come back later because there's less thrash, less risk of a negative experience.
If done correctly, a two-headed strategy of driving sales to Amazon and your native website could yield huge dividends. But have you ever wondered, what does that strategy actually look like? And how can you create a scenario where one builds off the other instead of cannibalizing each other? Well, the answer lies in assortment and pathways into the perfect brand experience. And Ben Knox is a bit of an expert in this area, and he came on the show to share his expertise. Ben earned his stripes while working on Red Bull's e-commerce strategy, and now he serves as the Vice President of E-commerce and Growth at Super Coffee, which is super delightful and delicious if you have not tried it already. According to Ben, brands need to come up with an assortment strategy that allows customers to get what they want, when they want it, and where they want it. But it also leads them back to the type of brand experience that you want them to have. He also detailed how beneficial a subscription model can be if it's done right. Plus, he gave some tips on how to get the most out of your texting strategies, aka SMS, as some may call it, and what is actually going on in the wild, wild west of customer acquisition. Enjoy the episode with Ben Knox. Up Next in Commerce is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Respond quickly to changing customer needs with flexible e-commerce connected to marketing, sales, and service. Deliver intelligent commerce experiences your customers can trust across every channel. Together, we're ready for what's next in commerce. Learn more at salesforce.com/commerce. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you to subscribe to our weekly e-commerce newsletter at mission.org/upnextincommerce. It's amazing. It's great. You will learn a lot of good things. Go subscribe. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Up Next in Commerce. This is your host, Stephanie Postles, co-founder and CEO at mission.org. Today on the show, we have Ben Knox joining us. He's the Vice President of E-commerce and Growth at Super Coffee. Ben, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. So you have a very long background in e-commerce. I feel like you're a veteran when I was looking through your profile, and I was hoping you can kind of start there and go into, where you've been and how you got here.
Absolutely. I think that's a great foundational question. I started my career at Red Bull at the headquarters in Los Angeles. And, looking back on it, I couldn't be more thankful of a place to start my career. Obviously, one of the most exciting and powerful brands that CPG has seen in the United States, if not worldwide, over the past several decades. So learned a lot there. Started in brand marketing, rotated into corporate strategy, eventually distribution, before finding my way into a special project on e-commerce. And at Red Bull at the time, and even today, the entirety of e-commerce really relates to Amazon. For one reason or another, Red Bull only wants to sell merchandise and things like that in a direct consumer way. Everything else is for retail, and Amazon would be considered there. So that was my first experience in e-commerce, was leading a global Amazon strategy for Red Bull, starting in the United States and then exporting that to Western Europe, which was a really exciting opportunity, great way to learn e-commerce from really the best and brightest, Amazon. Spent a lot of time in Seattle, working with the vendor team there and the related marketing teams, but eventually was really interested in going deeper in particular on direct consumer, paid media, things like that. And so, found my only real opportunity to do that was to leave that great brand, leave the company, join what ended up being, several other startups and companies since, where I've gone deeper.
All right. So what does your day-to-day look like at Super Coffee, and what is Super Coffee?
Yeah, absolutely. Super Coffee is an enhanced coffee company playing really in almost all consumer packaged goods coffee categories. So we have bottled coffees, canned coffees that really taste like delicious frappuccinos, but don't have any of the calorie, sugar, or carbs, and other sort of added positive ingredients, functional ingredients for health. We also sell, similar kind of super espresso product. It's like a double shot espresso, more portable, more on the go, less liquid, same performance. But also, as of last year, we moved into ground coffee with added vitamins and antioxidants, K-cup coffee pods. And then previous to that, we had been selling creamer, super creamer, kind of similar profile, very decadent, indulgent, but high on health, low on sugar and calories. And all of that kind of working together as a one-stop coffee shop for the health-minded consumer.
That's awesome. And then I saw, so the company was started by three brothers, right? Was it when they were in college?
Yeah, it was Jordan. Jordan is the youngest brother, Jordan DeSico, and his brothers Jake and Jim, his two older brothers, founded the company together. Jordan actually formulated the first super coffee in his dorm room, and enjoyed it himself, and then was sharing it with his former basketball team players. He was a college athlete, and kind of got an insight that there's really nothing like this out there. They did enjoy, they enjoyed the flavor and the taste of Starbucks drinks and cafe drinks, but not the way it made them feel, nor the sugar and the calories. And they also kind of liked the idea of energy drinks, but again, not great ingredient profiles and tons of sugar and those things too. So they didn't want to put that in their body, and that's really why they started Super Coffee. And like mentioned, Jordan formulated it in his dorm room for the first time, and then slowly but surely convinced his brothers to join him on his mission of disrupting the coffee industry. And now, 5, if not 6 years later, here we are, and it's really amazing what they've accomplished.
Yeah, it's definitely huge progress. I saw that they were on Shark Tank back in 2017, and then now recently they received investment from big NBA stars and NFL quarterbacks. And then I think most recently the company was valued at $200 million in June or something, which blows my mind for something that started in the dorm room. That's amazing.
Yeah, let's not forget J-Lo and A-Rod are investors and partners in the company, and it's no big deal.
No big deal, J-Lo. What up, girl? That's awesome. So obviously this company is awesome, which is why you're there. What does your day-to-day look like as the VP of e-commerce and growth? What do you do?
Yeah, it's varied. So overseeing the sales division of e-commerce, so the actual divisional P&L for Amazon, and then kind of that long tail of third-party online retailers. Thrive Market is a really awesome standout, actually a new partner of ours early this year, and really great partner so far. So we're really excited to go deeper on that relationship. Walmart.com is in the mix there as well. So that's from a kind of a sales divisional responsibility. That's kind of what we're working with, but then also responsible for the 3PL, who services all of our e-commerce order fulfillment. The 3PL also services our Amazon business, so is basically prep kitting and inbound logistics to Amazon for FBA, and they also do some managed services for us. On top of that, also responsible for overseeing all of our acquisition and retention marketing efforts to really drive, both of those two strong horses.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So what is the breakout between selling on Amazon, selling on your site, selling on other websites? What does that breakout look like? Are you favoring one area right now, or has it changed in the last year?
The really interesting thing about it for us, and it's funny now, having done this with a few different brands, it's so brand specific, kind of where your consumers desire to shop from you. And for us, we really maintained a very consistent mix. So what you might often see is a brand starts direct consumer, then they start moving into Amazon, and customers just shift into Amazon because everybody has a Prime account these days. It's very easy, very dependable, great return policies, all of that. So there's a lot of trust there. You're already doing a lot of shopping there. So it oftentimes you'll just find your customer base moving to Amazon in a somewhat uncontrollable way. Mm-hmm. There's definitely things that you can do to maintain a more healthy mix. And I would say a lot of those, factors and criteria are in place at Super Coffee.
So what are some maybe tricks with selling with Amazon? Because, we've had a lot of smaller brands on here, D2C players who,
they've of course talked about like Amazon creating a white label version of their product. And we've also had a couple of people be like, there's nothing to worry about as long as your product is strong. Like, how do you guys think about selling on Amazon, and like what opportunities are there that maybe people are missing?
So there's many ways to skin a cat there. And again, it's very kind of brand dependent on what's right. For us, our context is, we really are a retail brand first. So we're now, I think, in over 30,000 outlets across the United States, approaching a 60 to 65% ACV. So we're getting pretty ubiquitously available, but obviously nothing compared to a Red Bull that, at the time I left the company, over 300,000 outlets. So you can kind of stumble and buy a Red Bull no matter where you are. Mm-hmm. Super Coffee is a bit earlier in that life cycle, but still predominantly retail brand. I think relative to that, and relative to our category, we really want the consumer to be able to have perfect availability of our products and to be able to purchase our products, when, where, how often, from whom they like. And so this is leading into an assortment strategy. From an assortment perspective, maybe another brand might have only select assortment on Amazon. And then to get the full brand experience, you have to go to the website. So that's kind of a natural path toward direct consumer. There's other ways that we do it. However, we provide the best subscription experience and discount on our website. So we actually offer subscription on a limited basis. And when we do, only the 5% funding amount on Amazon, whereas our website is 15%. And so naturally, loyalists, people who are really engaged with the brand will come over to us. Mm-hmm. Then there's other things like special bundles and different content and things like that the website offers that, Amazon simply can't.
Are you oftentimes finding your customers on Amazon and then speaking to them in a way that brings them to your website afterwards? So you're kind of like top of funnel, they come there and then you pull them in to create like a loyal customer base and retain them?
Yeah. There's like a master design for that to occur. Mm-hmm. It's almost, though, in practice, a bit of, pushing a boulder uphill, in that people are kind of demonstrating an intent to purchase somewhere, mm-hmm. that there's something there, right? And so if they are starting to buy on Amazon, that's really an Amazon customer, mm-hmm. most likely. And then the factors that would drive somebody from Amazon to our website are a bit more natural and gradual, per se. Mm-hmm. That being said, we do nurture that behavior, but it's not like a really aggressive offensive strategy that I would say we've unlocked, even though I would like to say that we've unlocked that as a sort of massive arbitrage opportunity on the platform. We do find that people tend to stay where they start.
Yeah. I mean, what would the ideal state look like to you if you were to make it, into like the perfect funnel? Like, how would you have it work if you could just choose?
Semi-limited assortment on Amazon, full assortment, full experience on the direct-to-consumer website, and then, different mechanics and communication strategies kind of in between that, that Amazon experience, that kind of trial opportunity into the direct-to-consumer experience. Mm-hmm. Again, slightly different for us since we're a beverage, a consumable. We're really kind of like on the go impulse product, retail product, but a brand that's maybe less oriented in that way could more aggressively attack that type of opportunity.
Yeah, cool. And how do you guys think about subscriptions? Because that was a thing that I feel like everyone wanted to have subscriptions with their products. And then I feel like a lot of people realize, okay, that's actually not like best for our customers because they don't need a subscription for whatever we have, like, I don't know, t-shirts mm-hmm. or something. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people right. kind of drop that, from their offering. And now it seems like it's kind of making a comeback, but only with certain products. So like, how did you guys think about that as part of your, customer retention strategy?
Yeah, subscriptions for us are paramount, I would say. So again, a very consumable product. Ideally, we are, 50 to 100% of your coffee consumption. Mm-hmm. Obviously when you're on the go on the weekends, you're out with friends, things like that, pop into coffee shops, you can't avoid that, of course. But relative to, especially kind of, everyone being at home and through the pandemic in the last 9 months, we really want to be that sort of one source coffee solution for you at home, irrespective of your on the go behaviors. And so for that, subscription works perfectly on kind of that repeat purchase behavior. And it's great because you don't have to recruit or remind that that shopper to come back and buy every single time they're running low.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, right, it's going to happen anyways, but then we give them the opportunity to say, hey, not right now, I'm not quite through my last order. Or we give them the opportunity to say, hey, I've blazed through that order. Let me get my next one, ASAP. So there's that opportunity to modulate on the consumer side of things that makes it an ideal situation. I think the technology is not quite there yet to make that a perfect experience. That 30-day cadence is not always perfect for the amount of units in a case, and the amount of units in a case is going to last you longer or less time than it would me. So it's not perfect, but we are working on communication strategies and software and technology to help sort of improve that subscription experience for our customers.
Yeah, I think that flexibility is key. I even think about something like Stitch Fix, where they say you can pause, the orders, you can start it up again, like you can take a vacation from it, whatever you need to do. And I think that kind of like, it feels very risk-free of like, oh, you mean I can just try it once and then pause it for 3 months and then try it again. And it's
Totally.
just so different from how it was, I would even say a year ago, where it felt very like cut and dry, like you're in it or you're not. Like it's 6 months in, or you're, you can't have it at all, which it just shows how much has changed a lot.
You're committed. Yeah. We offer ultimate flexibility. So you can add a subscription to cart, check out, go in, log into your account and cancel that subscription, 5 minutes later. Mm-hmm. And while that's not ideal, it's okay. That's okay. And really it's we're modeling less than, in a way, the functional subscription itself. We're modeling a loyalty program in a sense. And so, if our subscription customers get 15% every order, we don't really care if they're actually on a subscription that auto bills them or they're managing that behavior on their own. Mm-hmm. So we find ways to incentivize and give rewards and give backs, regardless of the way that they are actually going about that.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest driving forces with the program that work well? Like, is it just the cost savings that usually attracts people and then something else, once they're in it, or like, what do those incentives look like?
Yeah, it's the cost savings and then the stated flexibility, the money back guarantee, things like that kind of get them in and interested. Thereafter, one of the things that, we invested in 6 or 9 months ago was basically text message based subscription management. Mm-hmm. And so essentially 3 days before a rebill, an automated text will go out and say, hey, your order of, fill in the blank is set to ship in 3 days. Would you like to make any changes? Gives them the opportunity to opt out, cancel, gives them the opportunity to say, ship it right away. Thank God you messaged me. I'm ready for it now. They can add products that are not even subscribable. So they can add seasonal one-time products to try things that might not even be subscribable. They can modify quantity. They can do all kinds of stuff. And it's just through, just as easy as a text message back and forth. So that's the experience that we're trying to create, both a managed and automatic and dynamic concierge experience mm-hmm. for the customer to really make that experience carefree, feel like they have as much control as they want over the experience, and to steer away from what you were mentioning, which is, the old history of you opt into a subscription, you get a deal, and then it's like you try to go log in and cancel, you can't even figure out how to cancel the dang thing. And
call
that's
our
not
customer service representatives and we'll see.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Email us, or it's like, okay, that's crazy. So that's not the business that we're in. We're in it to spread positivity, create a great connection with our consumers, because they're not just, buying from us on our website. They're buying from us in stores, and they're, they have family members and friends, and that kind of experience goes a long way. And the opposite experience also goes a long way.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. What did it look like after you implemented the SMS stuff? And then, all of a sudden the customers can easily just be like, and cancel. Like, what did the results look like? Was there anything surprising there?
Yeah. So, you'd think, okay, your cancels are going to go through the roof, and, mm-hmm. and because you give somebody such an easy way to cancel, it's almost like a fear mindset rather than an opportunity mindset. And what it actually did for us is it didn't increase cancels, but it decreased CX inbound. So it actually decreased our costs on the customer service, customer experience side of things, because customers could then, choose their own adventure, right? And self-service. And philosophically, we haven't gotten in the data yet, but philosophically, right, the customer who has a great experience doesn't have to email support, all of that back and forth. They're probably more likely to come back later because there's less thrash, less risk of a negative experience. So all in all, great from that perspective, and great from the perspective of allowing people to increase quantities, add new products, things like that. So AOV of the subscription has also increased.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you do in the text message arena where you're like, this is also working well, or another way that you communicate with your customers outside of just, your orders coming up from a subscription standpoint?
Yeah, we do marketing blasts. The other part of our text message strategy, and I like calling it a text strategy, not an SMS strategy. It's pretty much what everybody calls it, but I even see it sometimes where companies or brands call it that to consumers. And I see it printed on packaging, or it's like, send us an SMS. It's like, I don't know if any consumer knows what an SMS is.
Tell me on your landline.
Yeah, exactly. So relative to that, it's actually two separate softwares that power it, which we would like to synthesize over time. So two separate phone numbers that these communications come from. So we let people know that this is your sort of subscription phone number, and then this is kind of the Super Coffee personality brand phone number. Mm-hmm. And on that second one, we really sort of nurture that as a VIP audience. And so when we do a product launch, things like that, we let people know if they want early access to the new products, or early access to, let's call it a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, or what have you. You're going to get a 24 hours heads up to everybody else to get that early access if you're opted into our text message database. And so that's largely how we use it, give early access to things like that, product launches, seasonal products, and then the occasional kind of motivational marketing push, things like that are more conversational, less, we're trying to sell you something. And I think that's a direction that we want to continue to go deeper on, is driving personalization, driving value, as opposed to asking so much. I think that's something the industry is striving for as well.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely is a tricky channel too, where you see a lot of people doing it wrong. And I can see brands being hesitant to even try it out because, they probably have experienced something not so great themselves. And they're like, I just don't want to get it wrong, because I'm sure you get like the random text where you're like, I don't need that coupon right now. I'm like in my bed watching Bachelor, which, Ben, I know you're doing the same thing. I just don't need that right now. It's not helpful.
Well, there's this like, I don't know who invented it. It is probably decades, if not 100 years old, but this concept of, I think Gary Vaynerchuk might have popularized it, but this concept of, give twice or give 3 times or 5 times before you ask for anything. Mm-hmm. So it's all about that giving value. And that can be modeled through social media, that can be modeled through email marketing. And that certainly, I think, should be modeled in text messaging. But it's tough, as marketers or as business owners, business operators, as soon as you stop being a consumer, sometimes it's hard. I think sometimes as the business owner or the operator, it's easy to forget what it's like being a consumer. Mm-hmm. And slip into that sales mindset. But I think it's important for us to all empathize as much as possible with, being on the other end, and really think about, what you would like to receive from a brand as opposed to just another sort of promo.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree that once you start seeing, like when you're as a business owner seeing all this data, you start it's easy to slip into that mindset to like view people like that. And, especially if you're being measured by certain KPIs and you're like, well, if I send out 3 random, poems or jokes, and my boss sees that, they're going to wonder what I'm doing, and I'm going to have to explain it, versus my marketing message, which is very, kosher and like by the books, might not perform as well, but less explaining, which is tricky.
Yeah, exactly. So I think depending on where you are in your organization or who's listening to this, doing this correctly could require a lot of education upward or throughout the organization. And it's tough because it's a long-term thing, and it's building trust with the consumer, but you also have to build trust internally to give yourself that runway to operate like this. Yeah. So there's no silver bullet here, but something to strive for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you see right now when it comes to the customer acquisition landscape? Like, what has so far 2021 looked like? Is it very different than, prior years?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think two things happened last year. think people started spending more time on the internet and on their devices as a result of the pandemic. So in a way, there's now more impressions, more reach, more impressions for sure. And then there was definitely a surge of people, buying more heavily online in certain categories than they ever were before. But I think, we're kind of moving toward the back end of that and reverting to a new mean or a new normal. And, now we've also had, 9 months for, advertisers and brands to catch up to starting to sell and advertise on the internet. And so there's a crowding from the brand side of things. And certainly over the last, in Q4 always, but even now and starting the year, things are just continuing to escalate and get more expensive on a CPM and CPR basis. So putting increasing pressures on cost per acquisition and overall customer acquisition cost for a brand and a business that, might have been previously very reliant on paid digital advertising to find new customers. And so at least what we're focusing on is diversifying, not only just in channel, so testing obviously other advertising channels to acquire customers, but diversifying away from paid and more into owned and earned and shared. Obviously longer term investments, things like a content marketing blog, or let's say, diving deep and building an organic presence on TikTok, which is a buzzword and everyone's very interested in right now. Pinterest is another area. Pinterest is really, the third search engine of the internet, I would say, behind Amazon and Google. So that's, something that's been hiding in plain sight for a long time. And strategies like that to nurture, a healthier upper funnel, and then leveraging, paid is maybe more of a converting and a retargeting, remarketing engine. Then a prospecting engine is probably the best way forward from our perspective currently.
Yeah, I think that's a really good viewpoint, especially when you think about what's happening around like the privacy rules and what people have relied on for a long time when it came to Facebook ads and like what iOS is coming out with. It seems like a lot is changing there, that brands are going to have to rethink how they find new customers, just like you're mentioning.
100%.
So when you're talking about, right now there's also a lot of crowding from the brands who popped up, who either came online that weren't, or a lot of brand new D2C companies that all, started last year. A lot of them did. How do you think about, making sure that Super Coffee shows its value in a way when there's a lot of other, coffee players popping up and keto brands and butters that you add to your coffee? It feels like the space is getting very saturated. Like, how do you, keep showcasing your value and why you're so different than a lot of other brands?
Yeah, 100%. We've tested so many different creative strategies, and we'll talk about, paid advertising for a second. Ultimately, we've come down to a few key creative formats or messaging strategies on the paid side that work really well for us. One that we continue to hone is a comparison style ad, which is, putting us up against a really sort of delicious looking, we'll call it a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts cafe drink, with foam and cream and swirl and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then putting our product directly next to it and saying, hey, everything about these two things are the same actually, except for, and then we flash through the nutritional profile, the calories, the sugar, the carbs. Yep. That works really, really well. And that's not only driving value for us from an e-commerce perspective, but that's driving sort of global value for us all the way, through the omni-channel environment. So we're really, really happy about that type of communication and that creative strategy. Very hardworking.
That's really smart too, because you're instantly anchoring yourself to a brand that everyone already knows about. So you don't even have to explain like it tastes like this, it's got the foamy, like you don't even have to worry about that when you anchor yourself to, a larger brand like that. Exactly.
And it's interesting. It's a strategy that, is being successfully used by, the Magic Spoons of the world. Maybe a bit easier, right? Yeah, because, we've all known for a long time now that cereal is not good for us.
What?
And, but we love it, right? Mm-hmm. I grew up on cereal from the Midwest and I subsisted off the cereal. So when I learned Magic Spoon came out and Catalina Crunch and different brands like this, it was like no brainer. Like I am ready to try that because I've been dying to eat cereal for a decade. And I told myself I couldn't anymore.
Yeah.
You know, we were comparing it against like a bottled product in the past, but maybe less like household penetration on those types of products. What we've really found success in is actually comparing it to the cafe drinks. Maybe less people actually these days are getting frappuccinos than they did. So it's moving toward that cereal example, as opposed to, you know, bottled or canned coffee drinks. We might still, in a way, not know that those are super unhealthy for us.
What are some other creatives like that you guys are leaning into?
Yeah, otherwise we really lean into UGC style creative, kind of raw stuff, really focused on the product as hero. So our product, you know, we do have packaging that really distinguishes ourselves from the category. A lot of white in our packaging. We have that slash, that angular slash through our packaging that really stands out. And what we found is kind of really just a standard, you know, iPhone style photo, tightly cropped bottle or can is oriented such that, you know, the user can actually read it if they're scanning through the feed. And with some situational context that could feel like it's a real person, right? It could actually be real UGC, could be manufactured UGC. Either way, it gives that sense of, okay, I learned that this product in comparison to this other drink is a lot healthier for me. And then, okay, on my second impression from the brand, I'm seeing that this is actually a real thing that exists in the world. Oh, I can see myself holding and consuming this product. Let me click through and give it a try. So that's kind of like the funnel, oversimplified, how we think about things currently. But both of those creative styles have been very hardworking for us historically.
Yeah, I think that's such an important shift. I've even seen personally, like when I'm, you know, on Instagram or TikTok and I see people using something or they have something in their room, you know, where I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like my living room, where I don't remember thinking that way a couple of years ago, where I think I was looking for that more, you know, like I really want something to look formal and official. Like it's only the real deal if you spend a lot of money on it. Where now, I mean, our best performing ads for Mission are, you know, I'll be walking around with the iPhone doing the ad, and like that movement and, you know, organic look does way better than anything that we've actually like produced, you know, in a formal fashion.
Totally. Yeah. People are kind of turning off to advertising these days, and the more polished it looks, the worse it performs in a way, which is so ironic.
Yeah, I agree. So what channels are you most excited about? I mean, I know you mentioned like TikTok and Pinterest, but then everyone's talking about TikTok. Like, where are you guys, zoning in on for this coming year that you're like really excited about?
Yeah, we've started investing pretty heavily in podcast advertising.
Okay.
As of the start of the year. So we're advertising on shows like Armchair Expert and Pod Save America, Sibling Revelry, and kind of a whole basket of great shows that you know have partners that represent our brand and are a great fit for our audience. So that's been going quite well, and that's exciting because it's supportive of the total business. Again, kind of maybe moving from a singular e-commerce mindset to more of an omni-channel view on the world and the market. So that's been great. We'll continue to invest there and kind of work that into our ongoing marketing mix, a bit more upper funnel. And then I think, as I mentioned, really thinking through a content marketing strategy holistically as an upper funnel driver. And obviously there's different distribution channels, but really kind of owning an editorial calendar, owning a perspective, leveraging our partners, and then distributing that in the channels that are applicable, and really bringing all of that, the world of Super Coffee to life through our partners and through content, I think is going to be our bleeding edge this year, and really kind of right the ship relative to, you know, upper funnel, mid funnel, bottom funnel, and, you know, create that healthy balance that, you know, all of us are looking for in this industry.
Yep. And the one thing I have been thinking about lately is how, you know, in the next coming years, all these brands are turning into essentially like media companies creating content. And everyone's going to be trying to pull the consumer back, you know, to their blogs, to their hubs. And it's like, instead of, you know, just going to Instagram feeds and seeing it on there, you're going to be pulling people back to your websites. I mean, how do you think about that landscape? Because it feels kind of crazy, you know, thinking about like hundreds of brands trying to be like, and come back to my blog to see the content that we're creating. And you have to kind of go in a million different places to find it.
Yeah, I think it puts an increasing pressure on I almost say quality. Quality is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, again, like we mentioned, quality, a designer or a creative director of yesteryear is perfect, polished, detailed, dialed. Whereas quality these days is on a YouTube channel or in a TikTok account and from a mobile phone, and not really produced and published and polished. So I think it's quality, it's relatability, it's authenticity, and above and beyond all of that, it's having something to say that really speaks to somebody and makes them feel like they're engaging with a personality, engaging with something that means something to them, that makes them feel a certain way. And so it'll just put an increasing pressure on that confusing definition of quality for the consumer, to really create that connection and say, hey, it's worth subscribing to us directly as opposed to all these other 100 brands that offer X, Y, and Z to you. In order to do that, you're going to stay focused and attention on us and not the rest of them.
Yeah. I think about the amount of newsletters that popped up, this past year, where obviously that whole industry was very much like democratized, and now anyone, can make a newsletter and charge for
That's
it.
right.
And I subscribed to quite a few of them, but then now I'm like, well, what I do? I mean, now they're coming in, I'm having to like send them into different categories and filter them so they don't hit my inbox. And it makes me think that could be, an eventual future for brands too, if you don't figure out how to, write something, create something that someone is eager to open and actually wants to hear what you have to say, and doesn't just drift over to like a corporate marketing message over time.
Yes, exactly. It just all goes back to, giving and creating value, whether that's, and it's dependent on the brand, whether that's, in the Tim Ferriss mindset, which is, tools, tips, practices, like all of that he gives his audience. That's why you go listen to Tim Ferriss. It's contextually different for, a brand or for another personality in a podcast or what have you. So it's all about knowing what you want to say, knowing what, you have to give and share to the world, and then giving as much of that as possible.
I agree. All right, well, let's shift over to the lightning round. The lightning round is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And this is where I ask a question and you give me an answer under 30 seconds.
Okay, exciting.
Woohoo. All right, what one thing from 2020 do you hope sticks around throughout 2021?
Wow, not much.
I mean, that's why it's a hard question.
Well, I think, I don't know if this is going to give a firm answer, but a lot of people, are of the belief that, COVID accelerated, trends in technology, trends in consumer behavior that, would have otherwise taken 10 years to happen. So I think, as a digital marketer, as an e-commerce professional, I think thankful and excited for all of the change relative to consumer behavior and sort of, online commerce that happened in 2020. And I don't think we're going backwards on that. So excited and thankful for it, and excited for what's next.
Yeah, I like that. What's your favorite resource or resources to stay on top of like the e-commerce industry as a whole?
Yeah, there's obviously great podcasts like yours. I'm going to plug another podcast because I was on it.
There you go.
The DTC podcast. I think it's by Pilot House Labs. And speaking of newsletters, they've got a really great newsletter as well. So check them out.
What one thing do you not understand that you wish you did?
I feel like I wish I understood I don't feel like I understand anything ever in a way, especially in this industry. Everything's always changing, and you speak to somebody who has such high confidence over something that you feel like you don't know anything about, and that's just a constant feeling that you'll have. And so I think always maintaining an extreme curiosity over things, continuous learning. You'll never know it all. So I think that's just kind of in the DNA of somebody successful in this industry, in e-commerce and digital, is that needs to be baked in.
Yeah, I agree. What's the last purchase you made online that you normally would not have bought online prior to 2020?
Well, I'm a new dog dad.
All right, congrats. What's your dog's name and what kind of dog is it?
Her name is Honey.
Cute.
Because she's so sweet. And she's a rescue pup, about 6 months old, and she's a lab mix. We think she's a lab mixed with a Jindo. which is a Korean breed.
Okay. I'm like, I think I know what kind of dog that is. Okay. So
it's almost like a Siberian Husky, a bit more slender. Yeah.
Okay. So you bought her offline or you bought something for her offline?
Well, I buy everything for her offline on the internet now, which I've never bought the pet category before, really in my life, and certainly not online. So that's opened me up to just a completely different world of industry. I mean, I think the number one e-commerce category is vitamins and supplements. Number 2 is pet supplies, and number 3 might be like pet food. And like over 50% of pet products are bought online. So pet is potentially the most endemic e-commerce category there is besides nutritional supplements.
Yeah. All right, Ben. Well, this whole conversation has been a blast. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge. Where can people find out more about you and Super Coffee? Yeah,
Super Coffee's easy. drinksupercoffee.com, or just type us in the search bar, Super Coffee, and Google or Amazon. You'll find your way to us. Myself, really the only place that I exist, which is ironic, is on LinkedIn. Don't really maintain any social profiles. I don't have a newsletter or a blog myself, but feel free to find me on LinkedIn, make a connection, or reach out, and love to connect.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ben.
No, thanks, Stephanie. It's been great.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you'll probably also love our e-commerce newsletter. To get it delivered straight to your inbox every week, sign up at mission.org/upnextincommerce.
Up Next in Commerce is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud and created by the team at mission.org. Subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.